They say teammates are like brothers, bound by blood, sweat, and the badge. But what happens when that bond snaps? When frustration boils over, when egos collide and fists fly? Behind closed doors, football isn't always beautiful. Sometimes it's brutal. Welcome to Football Retold, the show that digs up the stories football tried to bury, the fights, the feuds, the meltdowns. If you love the chaos behind the curtain, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Because today, we're diving into the moments when teammates became enemies. Imagine this. 2 players, same shirt, same goal, same dream. Suddenly, they're swinging fists at each other in front of the whole squad. The dressing room freezes, coaches rush in, cameras are off, but the damage is done. These aren't just training ground scuffles. They're eruptions of rage, moments of madness that shattered trust, fractured squads, and left scars that never healed. From Sterling versus Gomez in England camp, to Zlatan versus Onyewu in Milan, to the infamous Dyer versus Bowyer clash that stunned the Premier League. These are the fights football never wanted you to see. It's not just about athletic competition. It's about ego. It's about control. It's about proving yourself in a world where only a few shine. The training ground should be a place of strategy and teamwork, but sometimes it transforms into a battleground. April 2nd, 2005. St. James's Park, Newcastle United hosting Aston Villa. The Magpies were already trailing 3-0. The atmosphere was tense. Frustration hung in the air. Then, in the 82nd minute, chaos erupted. Lee Bowyer, known for his fiery temper, stormed toward Kieran Dyer, not an opponent, his own teammate. The two exchanged heated words. Then, without warning, Bowyer threw a punch. Dyer retaliated. The two midfielders, meant to be orchestrating the game, were now trying to knock each other out, on the pitch, in front of 50,000 stunned fans. Punches flew, shirts were ripped, teammates sprinted in to separate them. The referee, in disbelief, showed 2 red cards, to the same team, for fighting each other. Newcastle finished the match with 8 men. The humiliation was complete. The footage went viral. Commentators were speechless. And Bowyer's excuse? He wouldn't pass me the ball. The fallout was brutal. Both players were fined, Bowyer faced criminal charges, and the club's reputation took a massive hit. It wasn't just a fight, it was a public implosion. November 2019, England's national team camp. Just 24 hours earlier, Manchester City and Liverpool had clashed in a fiery Premier League showdown. Raheem Sterling and Joe Gomez had squared up at Anfield, but the tension didn't end there. Sterling walked into training the next day, saw Gomez, and snapped. "You think you're the big man now?" he reportedly said. Then lunged, grabbing Gomez by the throat. Teammates rushed in. The room froze. It wasn't just a scuffle. It was a rupture in England's unity. Gareth Southgate, the manager, had to act fast. Sterling was dropped from the next match. The tabloids exploded. Fans were divided, and the squad's chemistry shaken. Sterling later apologized. Gomez stayed silent, but the tension lingered. The incident raised questions about ego, rivalry, and the pressure of playing for both club and country. It was a reminder, even the most professional players can crack under pressure. AC Milan 2010, a crisp morning at Milanello training ground. The squad was preparing for a crucial stretch of the season. Spirits were high, until Zlatan Ibrahimovic clashed with Oguchi Onyewu. Zlatan, never one to back down, squared up to the towering American defender. Onyewu stood his ground. The tension had been simmering for weeks. That day, it boiled over. Suddenly, fists were flying. Screams echoed, teammates scattered, coaches sprinted in. Zlatan later wrote in his autobiography that Onyewu hit him so hard, he thought his ribs cracked. He described the impact as being struck by a mountain. The fight lasted minutes, not seconds. It was raw, violent, and personal. Zlatan admitted, "We hated each other," and that hatred left a scar in Milan's dressing room that never fully healed. The incident was never officially addressed by the club, but insiders say it changed the dynamic of the squad. Trust was broken, unity shattered, and Zlatan's legend, for better or worse, grew even larger. These weren't isolated incidents. Football has a long, messy history of teammates turning violent. Barcelona. Luis Enrique and Lajos Christo clashed so fiercely in training that Pep Guardiola had to physically intervene. The fight was hushed up, but insiders say it nearly derailed the team's preparation. Arsenal, William Gallas, and Kolo Touré. Training ground fight sparked a dressing room divide that lingered for months. The tension spilled into matches. The squad fractured, and Arsenal's title hopes faded. Manchester United. Roy Keane's training ground tackles were legendary and terrifying. He didn't just challenge players, he dominated them. Teammates feared him, and more than once, it nearly came to blows. Chelsea. Diego Costa and Antonio Rudiger reportedly had a bust-up so intense it led to Costa's eventual exile. The club denied it, but the signs were clear. These moments weren't just about anger. They were about dominance, pride, and the pressure to perform, and they left lasting damage. So why do these fights happen? Pressure, pride, ego. When millions are watching, when every pass matters, when careers hang in the balance, sometimes teammates explode. These are the stories clubs tried to bury. But football fans? We remember, because football isn't just about goals and glory. It's about the chaos, the meltdowns, and the moments we were never meant to see. But here's the thing, these fights weren't just about aggression. They were about ego, about respect, about who's boss. Let's take the infamous clash between Lee Bowyer and Kieran Dyer. Sure, Bowyer said something about passing the ball, but it wasn't just about the tactics. It was about control, about showing who's in charge. And then there's the bust-up between Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Oguchi Onyewu. Zlatan talks about physical battles in his book, but it's clear that it wasn't just about strength. It was about dominance, about imposing fear. These fights weren't just eruptions of anger. They were statements, aggressive declarations of a player's will to win, to be the best, to be feared. Now, this raises another question. Does this aggression on the training ground spill over onto the pitch? Well, yes and no. Look at the case of Raheem Sterling and Joe Gomez. Their fight in training definitely affected their performance. Sterling was dropped from the next match. That's proof that it created a rift. But does that translate to actual gameplay? Not always. Take, for instance, the clashes between Barcelona teammates, Luis Suarez and Gerard Piqué. They might have had their differences off the pitch, but when it came to playing for Barcelona, they gave it their all. And that's the thing. Great teams, great players, they find a way to put their differences aside for the greater good. They understand that the team comes first, that unity and purpose can overcome even the fiercest of rivalries. But it's not easy. Just ask Newcastle United after the Bowyer-Dyer fight, or England after the Sterling-Gomez bust-up. Their performances suffered, the team's spirit was broken. The unity that's crucial for success was lost. Remember, football isn't just a game. It's a microcosm of human relationships, a blend of ambition, competition, and camaraderie. And when things get physical, when tempers flare and egos clash, it leaves scars. Those moments of uncontrolled anger become defining chapters in a player's career, shaping their legacy, their relationships, and sometimes derailing their path to victory. Thanks for watching Football Retold. If this story hit hard, smash that like button, subscribe for more untold madness, and drop a comment. Which of these fights shocked you the most? Because behind every badge, there's a battle.